Hello and welcome to Planet 40k. Today we're on episode 5 with our Deathguard Codex reviews, and the winner of the latest Deathguard Patreon poll was the BLIGHTLORD Terminators. So this unit comes in the elite slots. It will set you back 10 power for a unit of 5, which is the minimum you can field, or if you do take between 6 and 10 models it's going to be 20 power. In terms of points, it's 40 points a man, but then you need to add on the upgrades. So quite a pricey unit. Kicking the review off with the keywords of note. So they've got the Plague Company keyword, they're a Bubonic Astartes unit, they're a core unit, and they're an infantry. So for those of you who still don't know, the Plague Companies are a mini faction within your Deathguard army. You give the whole detachment a Plague Company keyword and they'll gain access to a Stratagem along with a Warlord trait and a relic. So moving into their stats, they got movement 5-inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 3, attacks 3, leadership 8 and a 2+ save. The BLIGHTLORD champion in the unit has an extra attack along with an extra point in leadership, bringing the unit up to a leadership of 9 while he's alive. So very tough stats there, and 3 wounded terminators are no joke, especially paired with the first ability from the abilities section, which is disgustingly resilient. This is a -1 to all damage taken from every attack. So even a single attack that is damage 3 is not enough to take out a single terminator, as it'll only take down 2 wounds, so it'll need to do 2 attacks just to take it out, which would usually cause 6 wounds in total, so it's extremely tough to kill. Contagions of Nurgle is the stink that all Deathguard units put out, which gets worse as the game progresses. Now in battle round 1 it's only a 1-inch radius around each of your units, and it grows right up to a 9-inch radius on turn 4 and onwards. So it basically gives a -1 to your opponent's toughness while they're within the range. So this is going to aid all your weapons with their wound rolls. They've then got Teleport Strike, which is the ability to deep strike into battle from turn 2 onwards, anywhere on the board, as long as you're more than 9 inches away from enemy models. This is the most ideal way of using them, as they've only got a movement of 5-inch. They've then got Malicious Volleys, which is instead of using normal rules for rapid fire weapons, models in the unit that are firing the rapid fire bolt weapons make double the amount of shots when they're either at half range, they're an infantry and they remain stationary, or they're a Terminator, which they are. So this is basically the Deathguard version of Bold to Discipline. Not bad. They've then got Remorseless, which is each time a combat attrition test is taken for the unit, you ignore all modifiers, which again is a copycat of the Marine version, which is a Thou Shalt Know No Fear. The last ability here is Diseased Terminator Armor, which gives the unit a 4+ invuln save. So better than the standard Terminator's 5+ invuln save, you're guaranteed to shrug 50% of the wounds off here, which is going to add a lot more durability to the unit. So we've spoken about abilities, next we need to tackle the weapon options. There's a fair amount of weapon options here, guys. Every model is equipped with a combi bolter and a bale sword. So we'll start with the combi bolter. It's a 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, no AP and 1 damage. So it's just a double shot bolter really, but you're always going to get 4 shots due to the Malicious Volleys ability already mentioned. So if you were to keep all 5 of your models with this weapon, it's not bad, as you've got 20 bolter shots, and of course this saves points when upgrading. The melee weapon is a bale sword. It's strength +1, making it strength 5, -3 AP and the damage is 1. It's a plague weapon, so you're going to be re-rolling 1s to wound. Now this is virtually a Deathguard power sword, but that re-roll 1s to wound is quite nice as well. You guys are going to get 3 attacks base, so you should be totaling 15 attacks with a 5-man min unit. Now even though this is great at slicing through armour, it's only damage 1. So against the meta marines of the game, you're going to need twice as many wounds to go through to be removing models. Against 1 wound models such as Necron warriors, this is going to be cutting through them nicely, hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s with no save. Should kill about 7 or 8 of them. But against 2 wound Space Marines, it's more likely only killing 3, as they've got a 6+ save and of course 2 wounds each. Worth remembering throughout all of these melee weapons, and the ranged weapons as well, that they've got the Contagion ability, which will reduce the enemy's toughness by 1. So let's take a look at all the options here. So the first option is nice and simple. Any number of models can have their bale swords replaced with 1 bubonic axe. So this is a strength +2, making it a strength 6, -2 AP and 1 damage. Again, it's a plague weapon, so you're re-rolling 1s to wound. This is actually not bad, as we already mentioned. Knocking down an enemy toughness a peg is key. Putting Space Marines to a toughness 3. Then using your strength 6 means you're wounded on 2s. However, on average you're doing about the same amount of damage as the bale swords, because now it's only -2 AP, giving them a 5+ armor save rather than a 6. However, it does do slightly better on, say, a Necron warrior, giving an average of 8 models removed. So upgrade 2 is for every 5 models in the unit, one of the models can swap out its combi bolter and replace it with a combi flamer. So before selecting targets, select one or both of the profiles below to make your attacks with. If you select both, then each time an attack is made with both weapons, you subtract 1 to hit. So the bolt gun is 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. It's a pretty standard weapon. Then the flamer is a 12-inch range, assault D6, strength 4, no AP and 1 damage. and it auto hits. So the -1 doesn't actually affect the flamer part as it's an auto hitting weapon, so it's definitely worth firing both profiles if you're able to. Also note it's an assault weapon, so you can advance and fire it. Usually it's a -1 to hit, but again you're auto hitting. So on to upgrade 3. For every 5 models in the unit, one model can exchange its combi bolter and replace it with a combi melter. So again you've got the bolt gun profile there which you've just gone through, and it's also got the melter gun which is a 12-inch range, assault 1, strength 8, -4 AP and the damage is D6. And if you shoot at half range with the melter, it becomes damage D6 plus 2. So this one you use it slightly different to the combi flamer, as you don't want to incur a -1 to hit on your melter. So if you are within 12-inch range, then I suggest ignoring the bolt gun side of the weapon to maximise the potential of the strength 8 melter. You could take a chance and advance with the weapon to get into half range for the D6 plus 2 damage. This will incur its own -1 to hit penalty, but you can never go below a -1, so at that point you may as well just fire the bolt gun too. Upgrade 4. For every 5 models in the unit, one of the models can exchange its combi bolter and replace it with a combi plasma. So this one's a tad more confusing if you're a newer player. So a plasma usually comes with 2 profiles on its own, which is the standard and the supercharged. In this case the standard one is 24-inch range, strength 7, -3 AP and 1 damage, and if you supercharge it, it goes to a strength 8 with 2 damage. However, when you supercharge it and you roll a 1 to hit, the bearer is destroyed. So thankfully it's only on modified hit rolls of a 1 that do this, so any -1 to hit modifiers will not turn 2s to 1s, resulting in a suicide. But like with the melter, don't use both the bolt gun with the plasma. In fact, even less so, as it's not even an assault weapon, so you wouldn't even be advancing it. Now, as it's a rapid fire weapon, you can get double shots if you fire within 12-inch range. Now this does have a better range over the melter, but the damage is lacking. Upgrades 5 and 6. For some reason both of these upgrades are lumped in the same bit together here. So for every 5 models in the unit, one BLIGHTLORD Terminator's combi bolter can be replaced with one of the following. So either a Blight Launcher or a Reaper Auto Cannon. So the Blight Launcher is 24-inch range, assault 2, strength 6, -2 AP and 2 damage, and it's a plague weapon. So this weapon is very strong right now because if you position another unit correctly, then you can be using the contagion ability on them, bringing the standard marine toughness down to toughness 3, so that you'll be wounding them on 2s with this weapon, and re-rolling 1s as it's a plague weapon. It's unfortunate you can only take 1 out of 5 of the Terminators with this. The Reaper Auto Cannon is 36-inch range, heavy 4, strength 7, -2 AP and 1 damage. So you obviously get a better range here with a few more shots. Strength 7 and strength 6 don't really have much difference here, especially with the contagion ability. It's only 1 damage and it's not a plague weapon either, so I'd probably go for the Blight Launcher if I'm honest. Upgrade 7. For every 5 models in the unit, the BLIGHTLORD Terminator can exchange a combi bolter with the Plague Spewer. So this is a 12-inch range, heavy D6, strength 5, -1 AP and 1 damage. Again, it's a plague weapon and it auto hits. So like a flamer, it auto hits, but it's more of a heavy flamer as it's got strength 5 and it's of course heavy. So moving it will have no effect as it's auto hitting, so make the most out of your 5-inch movement. However, it's not an assault weapon, so don't be advancing with it. Now we're back to 1 damage again, so not the greatest against the marine meta, but against other factions it's not so bad. Especially if you're using that teleport strike, you'll be within 9 inches, fire it, then go for the charge. If you do go for the charge, however, you might find your charge range increasing though, because your opponent will be taking models from the front, not the back. If you really need to get the charge on, then this may not be the right choice. So the 8th and final option here is for every 5 models in the unit, one BLIGHTLORD Terminator's combi bolter and Bale Sword can be exchanged with a Flail of Corruption. So this is a melee weapon, it's strength +1, making it a strength 5, -2 AP and 2 damage. It's a plague weapon and each attack will make 2 hit rolls instead of 1. So as this is a double-handed weapon, you lose both the combi bolter and the Bale Sword. But this weapon can be brutal. It's only strength 5 now, so I won't be wounded on 2s, but you get double the amount of attacks, which is 6 attacks. So should on average kill 2 marines in melee. All 3 single wound models again, such as Necron Warriors. So that's all 8 of the options. Worth noting here that you don't just select one of the upgrades, as each individual option states that for every 5 models you can select one of these. So you can kit the entire unit out as long as they've all got a different option. To be honest, no matter what loadout you select, they'll all do a fair amount of damage. Not an insane amount, but due to their resiliency, they're going to be there turn after turn after turn. So on to some book synergy. So starting with the stratagems, you've got Creeping Blight for 1 CP. This is where any melee plague weapons that wound on 6s will cause the AP to go to a -4 AP. Now with the amount of attacks you've got, especially with the Bale Swords, the Bubonic Axes and the Flails, you'll be sure to get some 6s in there. Vermin Whispers for 1 CP, used in either the shooting phase or the fight phase on your Terminators, will grant your units a +1 to hit. So it's very powerful, especially paired alongside a Deathguard Lord that rerolls your ones to hit, so you'll barely miss. Eternal Hatred for 2 CP adds 1 to the wound roll. This is crazy because you're already putting a -1 toughness to a unit if you're in Contagion range, so even the tougher units in the game such as vehicles and monsters will fear these guys. Champions of Disease for 1 CP is interesting as it allows your Blightlord champion to have a relic. Now, we will be doing a relics video probably next week, so be sure to not miss out on that. Just bear in mind while watching it that your Blightlord champion can have one for only 1 CP. Cloud of Flies is next, although it costs you 4 CP as your guys are Terminators. That's a lot of command points, but it means your unit cannot be targeted unless they're the closest unit. Now I'm not that keen on this due to the cost, and also because you're going to be deep striking them most likely, and they'll most likely be the closest enemy unit, so probably a waste. But if you are footslog in, it can be handy. Break the Spirits for 1 CP. So for each infantry, beast or swarm model that your Terminators murder, it will count as a -4 leadership instead of a -1 per model. So the enemy unit is likely to fail morale, so another model is going to flee when they do so, and then each one will have to take a combat attrition test, which potentially will result in more of them fleeing. So it's pretty good on more elite units, probably not worth it on standard Space Marine units, unless it's a key area of the game. It's definitely not worth it on the weak Horde units, because they're going to be failing morale anyway. Then finally, Virulent Rounds for 1 CP. This is pretty sweet. If you kept your combi bolters to hand, then this stratagem gives those weapons the plague weapon ability, so you're rerolling 1s to wound with basic combi bolters. So plenty of synergy with the stratagems. You could opt to give your champion a deadly pathogen, as he's got the bubonic Astartes keyword and is a champion. Now this will give him a +1 to his strength, so his Bale Sword is now on a magic strength 6. So wounded on 2s. Then you also get to add an ability from a list of 7, which costs between 10 and 20 points, which normally affect the weapons. Now we're going to cover the deadly pathogens at a later date. One of the warlord traits that can interact with your unit due to the unit having the core keyword is the warlord trait called Arch Contaminator, which allows you to reroll all wounds for melee plague weapons, not just the ones, and also reroll all wounds for ranged plague weapons that fire within 12 inch. So both of these are pretty handy for your Blightlord Terminators. If you took a Psyker into battle, then there are a few blessing powers that you can be casting on your unit. Firstly, the Miasma of Pestilence, which is if a unit is targeted by a ranged attack, then it'd be a -1 to hit them. Not bad. Putrescent Vitality, which adds a +1 to their strength and toughness, which brings all the unit's Bale Swords to a strength 6, and also gives the unit themselves a toughness 6, which is pretty crazy. Then Gift of Plague, which adds 6 inches to your contagion range of the unit to a max of 12 inch, which is pretty strong as you're likely to be going up the board teleporting in from turn 2 onwards, so throwing that -1 toughness aura around for the rest of your army to deal with them. So we briefly mentioned having the Lord of the Deathguard character giving rerolls of 1s to hit. Now there's plenty of options for this. The Demon Prince with wings gets to your teleport spot pretty quickly. Then there's Typhus, the Lord of Contagion, the Lord of Virulence, and a Chaos Lord in Terminator armor. So all 4 of those can deep strike with your Terminators to be providing those buffs. If you wanted to go footslog in, then there's a few elite characters to consider. The Foul Blight Spawn to prevent enemy units from fighting first in melee. You've got the Biologus Putrifier to use his Foul Infusion, meaning that any wound rolls of a 6 done with a plague weapon in melee will cause a mortal wound. A Talisman is a +1 to hit. And of course the Plague Surgeon, which is a firm favourite here at the moment, giving a 6+ invuln save for your guys and also heals them D3 wounds a turn. Now we did his review not long ago, and I think on reflection I should have probably gave him a slightly higher rating. He's almost an auto include right now, especially with the really resilient faction. Now one last little bit of synergy here. If you would like to transport them in a Land Raider, you can do so. You can only get 5 of them in there, but it's very pricey for what it does. However, it is toughness 8 and 16 wounds, which is pretty good, but I think I'd rather just teleport them. So on to the conclusion and the rating. An extremely durable unit. 3 wounds seems normal until you factor in disgustingly resilient. Add toughness 5 and a 4+ invuln save into the mix, and you're looking at what feels like an everlasting unit of character-like models that each are equipped with their own unique weapons within the unit. Now even though they're about 10 points more expensive than a Marine Terminator, you can see why. You just struggle to shift the guys. Like when you pair them with characters in the book such as a Plague Surgeon, they're ridiculous to stop, as you can't target the Surgeon due to the Lookout Sir rule, and you'll be finding yourself wasting endless amounts of firepower on the unit just for the Surgeon to heal them up. You need to focus fire your whole army on them just to stand some sort of chance of clearing them, and that's not even a guarantee because there's a boatload of stratagems at their disposal. The unit's only real competition within the Codex is the Death Shroud Terminators, which are a lot more meaner in melee, and they've got the bodyguard ability, but lack all the options that the Blightlords have, and can only come in max units of 6 as well, and they cost 50 points a man, so it gets quite pricey, but both are very solid units. As for the Blightlord Terminators, I'm going to be giving them a Planet 40k rating of 4 out of 5. I feel like they're a Swiss Army knife of the Terminators. They've got access to all sorts of gear, they can shoot and they can fight. Not at full capacity, there's no power fists here and there's no access to 5 lots of combi melters, for example. So that's why they've been pulled back to a 4, because the damage output isn't amazing, it's just decent. I do like them tactically though. They can be used to teleport into a key spot and get that contagion ability going off on multiple enemy units at once. That's the way I'd use them. Guys, let me know your thoughts below. Do you agree with the rating? Question of the day today is, what is the better Terminator unit? Is it the Blightlord Terminators or the Death Shroud Terminators? Put your answers below and why. Drop a like on your way out, and if you are new, remember to subscribe not to miss out on any future reviews. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.